Hi, everybody. Today I want to talk about my first full listen. That's right. I'm a Rolling Stones fan, but I never listened to the whole thing. First full listen of the 1967 album, Their Satanic Majesty's Request. Um, no surprise I'm a big Beatles fan. No surprise that I think that Sgt. Pepper's Lonely Hearts Club Band is one of the greatest albums ever made. It used to be considered the number one rock album of all time. Now that's gone down a ways to Revolver is one of them. But they've kind of switched places, Revolver and Sgt. Pepper. But there's no doubt that Sgt. Pepper was so influential, changed the face of music. And I always thought Sgt. Pepper, even today, even if it's not really what it was back in 1967, I really think Sgt. Pepper still deserves the title of the best, say, in my words, pop rock album ever made. Well, we know that the Rolling Stones often copied the Beatles, and the Rolling Stones are my probably second favorite band of all time. But when listening to this, and the reason why I didn't listen to it all the way through for a long time ago is because I always heard such negative things about it. Now, certainly there are negative albums that I actually like, and then, when there are albums that get positive reviews pretty much universally that I don't like. So it could go either way with this. All right, well, upon listening to it, I think this album stinks, okay? And it's really just a desperate attempt to do something and sound like something, even though there's nothing there to work with. Even the title, Their Satanic Majesty's Request, is like deliberately being like provocative and over the top and scary and twisted, as if the title's going to mean something, really like of the macabre or something like that. Well, I don't understand. I mean, I know a song like Sympathy for the Devil, which is a great song, would have fit on here, but what does this album really have to do with Satan or Majesties or Beelzebub? The best thing I can say about the album is, of course, it's got a pretty nice cover, okay? Even though it's copying the Sgt. Pepper group look, I have to say that the lenticular style of it, moving the cover and it kind of changes as the image is altered and moves around. That's the most creative thing about the entire project, all right? All right, now the first track, Sing This All Together, very uninspiring opener. Not a strong opener at all. What are they trying to do here? Well, trying to sound like 1960s, art rock. Now, the second track is a title that I've heard, Citadel. Everybody says, hey, Citadel's a good track. Not to me, it wasn't. I mean, everybody says how great it is. The best I can say about Citadel is that it's not as awful as the other songs on here, or most of the other songs. All right? I mean, I don't understand. Listening to this album, what is the trick? Do I have to be stoned out of my mind on acid? I mean, what does it take to get into this album? Why do so many people like it? Why did some of them like it at the time? Why do some of them like it today? I mean, do you have to be on drugs? I mean, seriously, on marijuana or anything in order to really get something out of this? Oh man, look at all the pretty colors. Listen to all the pretty sounds. Oh yeah, this is where it's at. I don't do drugs, so that's not going to happen. The next track is called In Another Land. And right away when you hear it, you can tell that the vocals are kind of like, mangled up a little bit. They sound like they're kind of distorted. And I wonder if the idea was that they said to themselves, I have an idea for this song. Why don't we just distort the vocal and do nothing else with the song and not even make a decent recording here? We'll just play with the vocals a little bit. That should get us through. No, I don't think so. Pretty bad. Then we have the fourth song called "A 2000 Man." I guess the number 2000 was a big deal back then in 1967 because they're going to use it again later, which we'll get to later. But 2000 Man, it starts out with snoring at the beginning, and I think that's about right. That's the whole feel of it. Later on, it picks up a little bit, but fifth song, and this is side one we're talking about, so we're going to close out side one with Sing This All Together and see what happens. This is 8 minutes of noise. And let me tell you, I'm not a big fan of the Beatles song Revolution 9 on the White Album, which came later than this. But I'll tell you one thing, after listening to Sing This All Together, See What Happens, I will say that Revolution 9 is better than this thing. As bad as Revolution 9 is, it's more creative than this. This is just a lot of boring nonsense for 8 minutes. So side one, for me, has nothing at all on it that's worthwhile. I guess Citadel comes the closest, because admittedly, like people say, oh, Citadel's a good track. Nah, it's not to me, but I'll say it's the best on side one. Now we're going to flip the album over to side two. We start out with, mercifully, I may say, the best song on the album, and I use that really mildly. It's She's a Rainbow. She's a Rainbow I've heard many times before. It's without doubt, I think even if you like the album, it's the best song on the album, and that's not saying much because it's not really a good song. She's a Rainbow it captures the feel of the days, but it's the Stones trying to be psychedelic. It's let's just do a song like that and see if we could pick up on the craze. It's not really a very good song, but it is the best on the album, in my opinion. Then we go to The Lantern. I have nothing to say about that. The worst thing on this album, next to Sing This All Together and See What Happens, the worst one for me has got to be Gomper, okay? It's terrible, terrible. Over 5 minutes, worst song, just a terrible noise and a bunch of gibberish. I really, really despised it. Now we come to the track that everybody knows, 2,000 Light Years from Home. Look, 2,000 Light Years from Home, again, along with She's a Rainbow, is one of the better tracks on the album. Those are the only two I can even tolerate ever hearing again. But 2,000 Light Years from Home, spacey though it is, and out of this world that it can be at times, it's still not a very good song. I think it's enjoyable for psychedelic Stones maybe in the place, but it's not a particularly great song. And thankfully we're at the end of the album with On With the Show, which I really don't really remember at all. I didn't even take notes on it. I mean, by this time I was done. It was too late, irredeemable at this point. Look, what a crappy album, and it's forced. It's a very forced response to Sgt. Pepper. Let's capitalize on what the Beatles did, and let's try to get a sound that sounds kind of like we're kind of out in Neverland, spaced out. Let's not have any decent material. There's no decent material here. Nothing here, and nothing except for the two songs I mentioned, She's a Rainbow and 2,000 Light Years from Home, which save it. I don't know. Also in this album, there's like parts of the album, little interludes where there's like spoken bits here and there. I guess like efforts to sound weird and strange. Let's tamper with saying a little funny things here and there. Put them in interspersed at different points of the album. Just unremarkable and uninteresting songs here. Now, I know that a lot of people will disagree, and I think some of you out there will agree. It's funny, even though I have a fairly full Rolling Stones collection, and I listened to this, by the way, if you've made it this far, on vinyl. I listened to vinyl, and I listened to the stereo original. Even though I have all the Rolling Stones albums pretty much up to, Undercover, and then even after that, I have some later albums. Easily, this is the worst Rolling Stones album I've ever heard, and I have yet to hear Dirty Work. And much like this album, why it took me so long to hear this album, I'm not all that keen to really listen to Dirty Work, although I'm sure I will, and see if I agree with the majority. But this has got to be the worst album or one of them. All right, so let me know. Let me know. Do you like the album? What do you think? Am I wrong? There's no right and wrong in opinions, but yeah.